Welcome to the Marketing Influence Podcast. I'm your host, Paula Kioki, and today we're diving into a topic that every B2B leader is talking about, but very few are actually executing well, turning data into real business decisions. Joining me today is Kyle Pobur from Blend 360, a company known for assisting organizations in bridging the gap between data, analytics, and real business impact. Kyle works closely with organizations navigating everything from data strategy to AI-driven decision making. And today we're going to unpack what it really takes to move beyond dashboards and insights and start using data to drive measurable outcomes. Welcome, Kyle.
Thanks for having me, Paula. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's good to see you. So let's start here. When you think about turning data into real business decisions in B2B, what does that actually look like in practice today?
Yeah, I mean, we work with a variety of clients across a bunch of different industries, and when we look at B2B specifically, it's a we kind of work into two different worlds where they occasionally cross over into each other. But in the B2B side of things, it's really about finding reliable vendors with that are capturing good signals that we can then bring to our end user clients. So here at Blend, we don't own any data. We act as a true source agnostic, unbiased data partner for our clients. And depending on their custom use case that we're trying to solve for, we'll work with a variety of vendors that are finding all kinds of different triggers across the B2B data landscape. So that could be anything from a new business trigger, someone who's just getting started with their business, a growing business trigger that is indicating that there's growth and an acceleration in what that business is doing, whether that's from a revenue, a head count, or a location standpoint. And then it's just really trying to find those correct contacts that are going to give you the right decision making power for our end user clients and who they're trying to reach. And then as far as insights, it's really an iterative process of using these different sources, what different data points are available, and then driving meaningful results over the course of different marketing campaigns and different marketing efforts. So it's we're fortunate to work with a lot of great partners and a lot of great end user clients that are always open to testing new strategies. And our general strategy with many of our clients is to just not get complacent with good results. It's always to leave a small percentage of test volume available in anything that we do where we can get statistical significant results, and ideally find some new strategies that we didn't even think about at the start, that we can then promote as we're seeing better results.
So that's how do you think that's different from a few years ago? I mean, is it mostly the signal activity or what would you say?
Yeah, yeah. So when going back, just it was more cut and dry. This is what we have to offer for you. There's I would say the breadth of information out there has
Mhm.
certainly expanded the way that people can track online activity and intent signals, which is a topic I'm sure that you guys are well aware of in your day to day. But it's
Mhm.
yeah, it's the accuracy and speed of those signals, I think, are evolving and changing over time to where we can bring new ideas that may have not been on the table, or the conversations that we've had between our two organizations, the differences in being able to track intent signals and understand where these people are actually coming from with their pain points and what they're trying to solve for. That's something that I've seen definitely grow. So you'll still have your standard publicly available information type sources of new business registrations, or a
Mhm.
phone is coming online, but it's really that next stage of finding intent, and are these people really in the market for what they're doing? Are they at that level of just browsing and trying to find sources out there, or are they actively showing buying signals? And that's something that we've really been trying to focus on lately.
And it seems like it's moving faster and faster.
Does
Uh,
it does just like everything in our world, there are AI applications that can help the speed of decision making. And when I talk to people outside of our industry, or people who are less familiar with AI, I try to explain it as, hey, it's another tool for our toolkit.
Mhm.
It'd
uh,
be similar if you were going back 25 years ago, 26 years ago at the the turn of the century, and you had somebody that was saying, I'm not really sure about this internet thing. I have a pretty good system
Mhm.
with
Yeah,
pen and paper and my Rolodex that I call and find different vendors, and things like that. So it's just another tool, and I think the biggest difference is the speed and the accuracy, which is helping make our jobs a little bit easier. But then you still have to find the correct sources that
right.
that can be trusted.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a give and take in that situation. But yeah, I was just having a conversation actually over the weekend. We were trying to find a list of alumni members from a well-known university in the country. And funnily enough, my father has been in the merchant credit card processing industry for years, and he had an initiative early 2000s where he was trying to get in contact with alumni networks and make them the preferred partner. And I said, oh, well, how did you go about finding these alumni lists back in the day? And I'm like, do
Mhm.
you have any people that I can reach out to at least start my search? And he said, yeah, we actually got a physical book mailed to us with everybody's name. And then we had to go through line by line and say, okay,
Yeah.
this is that person's name. This is their most recent recorded business. This is their
Painful.
this is their email if they even had one at that point, and here's a phone number you can call. I was like, well, this is great background, but things have changed since
Right, slightly.
2002 to where we are in 2026. So yeah, it's very interesting seeing the speed of how things have changed. And yeah, I've been here at Blend for 5 years, and even in those 5 years, the way we go about doing any type of data sourcing or any type of insight generation has certainly changed.
So did you find your list?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Yeah,
I don't have any ideas for you,
yeah,
sorry.
we're going down a couple different paths. Thankfully, our end user client is an affinity member that's working directly with the university. So
Oh,
there's a pathway there for us. But yeah, finding some of those trickier to find, especially professional type contact details for people, with
mhm.
any type of association. It's going to be disparate at best, and or at the worst, and at the best, you should get some decent coverage. But it's all about updates and refresh schedules, and
Mhm.
it brings us back to that first element of accuracy.
Yep, yep, number 1.
Mhm.
So on the flip side of that, why do you think so many organizations still struggle to bridge the gap between having data and actually using it to make decisions?
Yeah, I would break that into two pieces. So one, there's so much out there that it's hard to know where to start. So we just brought on a couple new people here at Blend, and we were just even having the discussion that working in the data landscape is difficult, and
Mhm,
it is something that a lot of people don't know about. I mean, anyone listening to
mhm,
this podcast is likely going to have some sort of interest and some sort of involvement in the industry. But when you describe to other people outside of our world what we do and how we do it, and the nuances of what we're trying to find out there, it's a difficult, big, complicated landscape that not a lot of people know about. So
I
just
agree.
knowing where to start is really the area where we see it, and it's across all organizations, Paul. We work with some, uh, if they're not Fortune 500, they're very close. And then
Mhm,
you talk to some of these data teams, and there's very little sophistication going on, or very little use of third party data going on, which is shocking. But it also,
yes,
that seeing those kind of conversations happen make my job very easy, because then you
mhm,
can come in at a base level and be like, okay, I'm coming from an education standpoint, first of all, of
mhm,
this is how this all works. Here is how it can be effective for you, and here is a way to dip your toe into this world and kind of join the organizations around you and how they're leveraging that data. So really, knowing where to start. And then the second part that I was going to get to is really on how you distill that information, how you determine, is this going to be a reliable source or not? Unfortunately, a lot of that comes with trial and error. So, thankfully, I have the years of experience of working in these spaces, of saying, okay, these are a couple red flags that I'm looking for when I'm reaching out to a new source. And some of that may be something as simple as a lot of the data landscape is. there's a lot of crossover. There's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of companies that we work with, or that are out there in the landscape that act as resellers of their data, and then they make their data available to organizations such as Blend or other data vendor type agencies. So just having that industry knowledge of what are you looking for, or hey, I'm seeing these three data sources that all look like great sources of B2B information. They have all of the attributes that we're looking for. Oh, these are all kind of looking like the same data sets. So
Oh,
being able to recognize, like,
yeah.
hey, am I being efficient in my efforts, or am I understanding that that I'm not going to name any specific names, but are there data sets out there that part of their business model is to resell their data to other organizations? How can
Mhm.
I sniff out those to where it's like, okay, I'm telling the client I'm going out and I'm getting them a multi-source campaign where we can try three different sources, run it over a couple months, and say, hey, we're looking to promote two sources and remove one of the sources. If all three of them are coming from the same underlying data set, that's not going to do very much good for me. And it's going to, if it was somebody other than me trying to join into this world, they might see, oh, well, there's no difference across all of these different data sources out there. And they might have those insights that they think they're getting, but it's really, it's all the same underlying data, so there really shouldn't be much difference. You really have to go out, and if you want to test against each other, is find different sources that are pulling their information from different underlying data sets, and then compiling them. So yeah, it really, just kind of to circle back to the question, it's you know being able to understand the data landscape as a whole, and then understanding what some of those red flags are, or things to keep an eye out for. Maybe red flags isn't the best way when you start going down the actual acquisition of the data.
Well, and I think I've seen over the years, you mentioned close to being a Fortune 500 company, uh, where one company will say, "Oh, we just have one data source," and the other will have 10. It's like, and how you get by with just one data source, and I'm
Yep.
talking in terms of like prospecting data and outreach data. I don't think that's gonna cut it. So it's always surprising to me when they say, "Oh, we just thought that we only needed one data source." No.
Right. Yeah. Or the other one we see, and it's less so on the B2B side.
Mhm.
Did I run into it? We work with a ton of consumer data, primarily in the United States, but we do have a couple projects where we're, working in LATAM or EMEA, or over in the APAC region. But we do see it more on the consumer side, where it's like, okay, great, you guys are getting a laundry list of 200 data attributes, and you are learning more about your customers. But that's only one part of the puzzle. And it does translate into the B2B world is, okay, you know all of this information now about your customer base, but you're not getting access to the rest of the prospect universe out there. And I think
Mhm.
that's where some organizations are still early on in their maturity phase of saying, all right, here's all of these insights. Let's break this group of, let's just call it 10 million customers. You look at the top 10% of your customers, that makes you at 1 million. What do these 1 million people look like? It's
Mhm.
bridging that gap of taking, this is the profile of these 1 million people, go overlay it over across the 250 million people in the United States,
Mhm.
and go find you more people that look like that. And whether that's
Mhm.
from a simple profiling standpoint, or a custom built model that is, designed to target on a specific outcome, which is a lot of what we do here at Blend. That's where, like, the disconnect is. That's the next step of going down that data maturity path. And then you really get into the fun architecture of it all of, okay, how do we keep track of all of this? How do we build that internal database? How do we understand everything about our customers, but also everything about the marketplace at the same time? And same thing happens in the B2B world. It's just, you're going from, likely over 1,000 data attributes on the consumer side to probably, in the 200 to 300. Some
Right.
get up into the 400s, depending on what interesting little tidbits they're tracking about business. There's some wild data attributes out there in the B2B world of things that it's like, well, I'm never gonna touch that. But that's very interesting that we have the uh does this place offer happy hours, like, just,
Right.
or does this place require that its employees wear uniforms? Like, for my clients, it's not super important. But if there was a Cintas or someone who is outfitting these companies with these things,
Right.
that
They
that's a
would care.
that is the number one most valuable data point to you. So
Yeah.
it's at the end of the day, it's super interesting being in the world that we're in and the amount of information out there on businesses or consumers in our country.
So, when you're working with companies, where do you most often see things break down? I mean, why does data stop short of becoming action for these companies? Is it just the volume of the data that needs to be refined, or what would you say from your perspective?
Yeah, I think I can give you kind of two on that one as well. Is the size of the data is number one. It's, hey,
Mhm.
how do we distill this down from this wealth of information that is out there that we would be receiving to something that's actionable and that matters? And a lot of times that um, it works on is this data attribute important to me? One, and you need to do a little bit of education in our industry on, does the name make sense? Like we talked
Right.
about, happy hours or wearing uniform. So a lot of times we see attributes in the consumer world that, hey, this for our particular client, like we're just reading the name of an attribute, it doesn't matter to them. Like we don't care if they shop at Target or Walmart. This is a completely unrelated product. But what I'm saying is on the education aspect, it's a lot of times it doesn't matter really what the attribute is if it is predictive of a certain behavior. So if
Mhm.
their ideal customer versus their um regular or just standard customer in their customer file, if someone is a target shopper and that's an indicator that puts them into that bucket, that's something that we can use. So really kind of educating that there is a ton of data out there, but predictive power is typically more important than a descriptive aspect of that data attribute. And it's the same thing with B2B. So, maybe these places that do offer happy hours, maybe that isn't something that, would even register to my contacts of saying, yeah, that's important to us. It's not, but oh, it turns out that's predictive of them buying this software or that they are going to show signs of growth, things like that. So it's the education aspect, and then a lot of times it's like the budget and storage part. It's hard to say, hey, here is this investment that over time there has to be some trust involved, but this investment over time is going to create better outcomes for you. It's
Mhm.
having that discussion with people and saying, hey, can we build you out a roadmap where this isn't going to be something that's going to turn around and flip the ROI on this investment in the next 2 to 3 months, but based on this roadmap that we can lay out for you in this data maturity journey and what our plan is for any outbound marketing, this is where we see this going. This is the path that you guys need to go down to modernize your processes and the way you go about doing your business. But if we can get to that type of conversation where it's like, hey, this isn't going to be a quick fix. This isn't going to be something that is automatically going to work for you tomorrow. But if you follow this path on a 3 to 6 month
Mhm.
game plan with us and put some trust into us, we can show that this is a positive ROI from that simple equation. But also, here is what this is also allowing you to enable as an organization that is growing.
Do you think the potential reticence is based on lack of people to execute, or process, or technology, or all? And I believe you guys probably bring some of that to the table to help them solve.
Yeah, it's a huge benefit for me working with the brilliant people that I work with at my organizations. A
Mhm.
super strong set of offerings here at Blend. We have brilliant data scientists, data engineers, a BI specialty, so anything working on measurement and reporting to tell that story of, hey, this is how everything's going that we've put into place. That's super important from the back end of saying, hey, this is what we've done. And then obviously we have a growing AI practice here at Blend, but having those subject matter experts within our organization that are leaders across the industry help me tell that story better than I ever could. I love being part of this team and allowing them to be able to do that. But it's really breaking things down and explaining it into easily digestible
Mhm.
ways, because Sometimes we're dealing with CMOs that aren't very data savvy, but they understand the big picture and what is important for the entire organization, especially being part of that C-suite. But there are times where we do get into the technical aspects of what we're doing, and people's eyes kind of glaze over, and you can see that in
Yeah.
conversations where it's like, you guys are super smart, this is great, this all sounds good, but I don't really understand it. And that's where our team does a really good job of breaking it down and saying, this is what this means to you, and this is why this should be important to you. And if you go down this path, this is solving for this goal, but also these are the next three things that you can go after as far as an initiative to modernize your organization. That's really where um, we see potential roadblocks, but it's something that our organization does pretty well.
I remember years ago, we had a client say, "Please come to us with duck and bunny slides that we can take to upper management."
Yeah.
In other words,
I like the to use the method of breaking it down to the explain it like I'm five type situation. Like, let's start there, then we can go into all the technical aspects of where is the data being stored, how is it interacting, how can we query it and interact with it, and especially with all the advances with AI and LLMs these days. It's how can I instead of just reacting to what a dashboard is saying, how can I have a conversation with that dashboard and really say, okay, I'm trying to put together a presentation for my internal team, what it would be the most important four insights that I can pull out of this dashboard, rather than, taking a couple screenshots and saying, hey, these are our main KPIs, that these were hit. Kind of take it to that next level down, and really start to tell a story behind it, because that's the biggest problem at the end of our day is we know what we do here at Blend creates a ton of value for our organizations that we work with, and that's reflected amongst the logos that we have on our website across the Fortune 500s. But it's really trying to bring in those people that aren't convinced yet, and take them from that, hey, I'm curious about this, I know this is something that we need to do, how can we go to that next level of advancing through using this technology and using our services.
so I think a lot of companies feel like they are data driven.
Mhm.
Okay. And so what's a scenario where the belief doesn't actually match the reality that you've seen?
That is a good question. Thankfully, I don't run into too much of that with my clients. We do have a pretty robust front door policy of evaluating who we want to work with. So anyone that does end up, that I end up interacting with, is typically bought into that, or has subscribed to that type of thought process of, hey, we're saying we're data driven and we need to back it up with some actual
Mhm.
actions. But it's those are opportunities. Again, it comes down to education, and um, you know going back to the example of like, hey, we get 200 data attributes on our clients. Um, how can we use those? And it's really breaking it down of saying, where are you getting the pressures internally within your organization? Our model here at Blend is very collaborative and very invested in the success of the people that we work with. So it's really breaking down like, hey, what are your organization's goals for your immediate team, not the entire group, and then what are your personal goals on how do you act successful in your role, and you're working with me. I'm invested in saying, if Paula, if you were my client, it's like, Paula, what are your end of year goals? And some of them
Mhm.
are tied to financial numbers, whether that's revenue or margin or how many new signups that we get there. And then really kind of taking that step back of saying, okay, this is the end goal. This is what should be pasted behind your computer that you look at every single day for 2026. How can we use data to help you out with that? Is it driving, some organizations are all about driving that top of funnel. So it's
Mhm.
like, hey, there could be a business that's trying to go out and get all their small and medium businesses to adopt their software. Hey, we're really concerned with getting just our call center to answer the phone, or to make the phone ring over the course of the day. And some organizations, that's the metric that they care about, where it's, hey, we believe in our call center, and if we can get a business owner on the line with our group, they can go into the deep dive of this is why you would benefit from working with us. And, so it's some people I work with, it's, hey, just make the phone ring. Conversions, we're not going to hold you to. That's our team's job once we get to there. And then there's other ones where it's like, hey, we'll track the 10 top of funnel metrics. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to, it's lifetime value against customer acquisition costs that we really care. And it's really focused on that ratio of what the costs are. Um, but even if somebody does start in that way where it's like, going back to your original question of, hey, we're data driven. This is what we're doing. We're open to testing. We're only really focusing on that number. We can really kind of back it up and say, okay, if that is the number that you're focused on, where are people falling off in the customer experience journey? Where are those pain points? Where do you see people enter all their information and then no longer pursue the rest of that conversation with your organization to become a customer? And kind of diagnose those things by looking at the whole picture. But understanding that end goal is really where I like to start, and then it's either build a game plan backwards or forwards in order to meet those goals. And that's really where you can start to point to them and say, all right, everyone's out there saying, hey, we're a data driven organization. These are the data points that you need to care about in order to get to your finish line.
Okay. So there's clearly a difference between having insights and actually making decisions. What needs to change inside an organization to make that leap, do you think?
Buy-in and trust, I think, within the organization. So some of the areas, and again, I'm really fortunate to deal with clients that are bought in on our way of doing work. But every once in a while, you'll see something where uh, it's almost, I don't want to use the word selling, but like going down that same storytelling path to where it's someone that I'm working with that isn't the end all be all decision maker. Like they have bosses within their organization, whether that's the CEO or the president or anything like that. Just taking it that next layer up of saying, all right, here's all of the insights that we can provide for me for these last 6 months of campaigns.
Hmm.
Here's 15 things that happened. We saw a bump in performance in month 2. We saw a slight dip in 3. Uh, here are some things that may have caused those. These are the different data sources that we've used throughout the campaign. That might end up into a list of 20 insights. And then it's really taking that group of insights and distilling it down to, hey, here's the top 3 or here's the top 5 action items that we can make going forward to improve those insights. So it's, whether we get a bump in a couple percentage points in our conversion rates, or whether it could be the flip side. We could be more efficient. Say our conversion rates are going up and we decide, hey, our marketing spend can actually go a little bit lower because we're getting more juice out
Yeah.
of what we're actually putting into play here. So it's really allowing our people to be prepared and be successful for those internal conversations that we always can't be a part of. Our team does a great job of presenting information to our key contacts that are tied to our work, but it's those next steps, internal conversations of saying, hey, we've been working with Blend. This is all the great stuff we've been doing, and allow them to speak as educated on everything that we are internally in their organization. I think that's really where it goes from insights to action items. Because if we can build that trust, not only with the people that we're interacting with on a daily basis, but also their senior leadership within their organization, they're going to say, hey, that worked. What's next? What can we do next year?
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like what you do is you're also helping your clients evolve from just dashboards and reporting into true decision-making systems. That's what one of the things that brings to the table.
Exactly, exactly. And it goes back to that point I was making earlier where it's like, we don't want people reacting with their data. We almost want people having conversations with their data. And whether that's in a more of a traditional way where, we're having a 30 to 60-minute meeting and a conversation, just going through some dashboards and saying, hey, this is interesting here. Or whether it is that next step of AI enablement where like you can actually type into the dashboard and have those
Mhm.
conversational style interactions. That's the next step of where it's really going. But in the
Are your
meantime, yeah,
your clients open to that?
A
AI?
a lot of them are. Some of them are pushing for it quite hard. So it is just something that it's another speed play. It's, hey,
Mhm.
how can, instead of clicking through 4 different tabs and making sure I'm looking at the right things, um, can I just have some of those insights automatically pulled from me? Or we have a new offering here at Blend. It's branded as Clarity, and it actually interacts with dashboards to where it could be like, hey, I'm trying to put together a presentation for our CMO and our CEO. Here is what their general profiles look like. Here's their background. Here's what they care about. Here's how um, sophisticated they are in the data landscape. And our offering will go in and pull out, here are the top 3 things that are on fire right now that we should discuss
Mhm.
immediately. Here are 3 long-term goals. And here are things that we should focus on, but they aren't something is urgent for us to discuss, but put it on the roadmap, and really trying to automate some of those decision making things with intelligent applications that can really just take large amounts of data and distill it down into those actionable points that you were talking about.
And it makes your job a little bit easier and faster also to be able to incorporate that. And
Certainly,
they
certainly does.
I'm really surprised sometimes when I talk to people and they just say that they don't know how to use AI or they're concerned about using AI because it really is a time saver.
It is. It is. Yeah. It's where I personally have seen it, and I'm trying to get my team into the same way of thinking, is anything that we're doing that's repeatable, that you could pretty much do, I don't want to say with your eyes closed because that wouldn't be accurate, but something that you do on a monthly basis. Use those systems, but do it in a responsible way that is, we're not uploading client data to anything. So it's much more like internal processes of looking at results and numbers where I really see it. Um, but yeah, so there is we go through new trainings that come out every single week of like, hey, best practices. These are the absolute no's. These are the things you should be using it for, and then here's some new skills that you can use. But yeah, it's really it's a speed play at the end of the day, and it's saying, okay, I'm looking at a something that used to be in an Excel spreadsheet that is across 14 different tabs that would take a long time to go through. And okay, I'm going to type out manually, this is what these results mean. Or we're seeing a bump in performance from adding a Facebook or a meta treatment, and it is significant enough to outweigh the additional cost. Something
Yeah.
like that, you would have to go through and click in on the individual tabs, whether it's an Excel or Tableau or Power BI, and really pull that information out. And this is just speeding that up to where it's just like, there's no sensitive data in here. It's all results. How can we help make decisions faster on this, or how can we pull insights that might not have been visible just due to the small nuances and differences.
The efficiencies are amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, like the simple stuff like, hey, just take all these insights and put them into a PowerPoint for me. It's just used to take, about an hour to put together a polished
Mhm.
deck, and now
Mhm.
it's something that takes a fraction of that time.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
again, like we talked about at the start, it's a new tool, and if you're not using the tools that are available out there, it's going to be easy to get left behind.
I was gonna say, it can be easy to get left behind.
Yeah.
Can you share a practical example where AI or advanced analytics actually influenced a real business decision?
There's plenty of them out there. Let me think of a good one to share with you here. I would say most recently we just did a QBR with a large B2B mailer. They do small and medium business mailings
Okay.
to get people to sign up for their software service. And recently did, like I've had a big QBR breakdown where, normally we're showing anywhere from 7 to 10 total views across a performance of an area, and or performance of a campaign. And for QBRs, we produce anywhere between like 20 to 30 different views, because there's different breakdowns on geos, there's different breakdowns on industries, there's different breakdowns on, hey, who is actually responding and who is the offers resonating to. So what we were able to do is, once we had the raw data, just the numbers on, these are the industries, these are the states that converted, it was able to easily put together a breakdown of by region of the country, what are the top industries that are responding to these offers. And what that led to is, hey, here is a breakdown of in the Southeast, these are the top 10 industries that performed. And then we could also look at it from the flip side of like, we mailed a ton of these industries and we didn't hardly get any type of response out of it. Now, if you compare that the Pacific Northwest. There are, a couple of the industries, business, professional services, I think we're popping across the board, but there are some different ones that were showing up in the top 10 and the bottom 10 as far as response rate above a certain threshold. We were able to take that and say, hey, this is our next recommendation for, hey, if it's in these states, we eliminate these SIC codes. If it's in these states, these are the ones that we want to include. So it created an actionable efficiency play analyzing a bunch of results that, I mean, when we look at the industry codes and some of the DMA values or the zip code values that we then map to those regions, we're talking over 5,000, over 10,000, sometimes over 12,000 rows of results that we used to have to manually look through. Now we can take those and say, hey, here's a clean PDF with no sensitive information included into it. How can we make this actionable to increase the efficiency of our campaigns? And at the end of the day, like my job isn't to maximize the amount of mail that someone is sending. My job is to get you the results in the most efficient way possible. So if I can say, hey, we're mailing 100,000 pieces a week and we can bring that down to 50,000 by making these tweaks and still see the same results, that's a cost savings of half for an effort from my clients while getting those same results. And hey, then if you want to maintain that same level of marketing spend, you increase that and you should expect the same level of end results at the end of the day. Yeah, like I said, I'm very fortunate to work with some clients that are open to testing, and they don't like getting complacent, same as me. So yeah, we're very dynamic in our planning, and that just speaks to myself and the team that is underneath me that I'm getting more familiar with these different projects that we can make dynamic decisions. So it's like, hey, this source isn't working, or we need to change our order selection criteria to focus on these areas, these geographic areas, these SIC codes, and so forth, and or could be something as simple as like, hey, we're seeing these titles are all of a sudden responding at a higher rate. Let's go find those people rather than just the highest ranking person at that business. That could be a better target. So it's all a very iterative process. It's um, I would never consider myself a scientist, but I've always been very drawn to science growing up in my entire life. Of hey, there you should always be testing a new hypothesis. You should always be learning something new, and if you're not, then you get stagnant and you'll eventually get left in the past, no matter how good your strategy is. It just goes back to the point I just landed on: is if you aren't learning and you aren't trying to explore something new out there, you just end up getting into that stagnant place. So just to answer your question, if you're not doing those things out in your daily life, if you're not trying to do continuing education efforts of taking new trainings, learning new skills, learning new tools and how to use them, you'll just get left to the past.
That's it for today's episode of B2B Influence. If you picked up something new or found yourself rethinking your approach, take a second to subscribe, leave a quick comment, and share this episode with your network. And don't forget, once we hit 25,000 subscribers, one lucky listener will win a free customer analysis. Just subscribe and comment to enter. If you want to be a guest or know someone pushing the boundaries in B2B marketing, tap the link in the show notes to nominate or apply. And if you're ready to fuel smarter campaigns and more accurate targeting, check out what we're doing at OMI.